Hi, ladies. Welcome to Thyroid Strong Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Emily Kiberd. I'm a chiropractor of 20 years, functional medicine practitioner, and I help the Hashi ladies feel strong, resilient, robust, and feel like you again. I have a very special guest on today. Her name's Selena, and she is a client that I worked with for 6 months. And when she first came to me, she was super skeptical. She's like, I've done the gut healing protocol. I've done the mold protocol and it didn't work. I've done it all. I work out, I eat protein, I hit my steps, I've done all the things, and what can you do differently? And so in this episode, we talk on a very granular level of what we did differently, how we helped get rid of her brain fog, gave her her energy back. She no longer crashes at 2 p.m. and she's lost 10 pounds. I thought it was really important for women to hear Selena's journey because a lot of women with Hashimoto's are struggling. They're like, I'm doing all the things and I don't feel better. I've seen multiple practitioners, whether they're a conventional doc, my endocrinologist, maybe multiple functional medicine doctors, and I kind of feel like a dumpster fire. And so I wanted to share Selena's journey and her transformation from her words. She's an amazing woman, a powerhouse, and super entertaining. So ladies, let's dive in. Selena, welcome to Thyroid Strong Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. We have known each other what feels like a lifetime, but it's actually only 6 months.
Right. True.
And I remember when we first jumped on a call, and it was just like a call to like, you feel me out and me be like, okay, can I help you? You're like, I've done all that. Like we were talking about gut stuff and you're like, nope, done it. I was like, well, maybe it's mold, fatigue, brain fog. You're like, done it. Can you share, like, if you kind of put yourself back to 6 months ago, like beginning of 2025, like what were you really struggling with? And I know you felt stuck. And where did you feel stuck? So what were you struggling with and what were you stuck with?
Yeah. So, I feel like my journey was several years in the making. So I have tried everything. I was like, okay, it's my food, it's my exercise. It didn't really put myself into the position that could be anything else besides those two things for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, let's talk about why.
Yeah.
Because you have a background of personal training and nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's why.
exactly. Right. And in my mind, like that was always the thing, right? What you put in your body is what's going to be important. So in my mind, if I ate healthy and I exercise, that I would, stay thin and be healthy. And so when I started losing my hair and started not having energy and started not sleeping and just feeling terrible, I was like, what's happening? I didn't know. So I start with your typical doctor, right? Your Western medicine doctor that I go to. And I said, something's wrong. I don't know what's going on. Thought maybe I was going through premenopause. And she's like, oh, you have a thyroid issue. And I was like, oh, well, what's that? And I have no idea what that means or what that entails. And, so I tried to do my research, which by the way is horrendous out there. It's every website, everything says something different. Don't eat this, go do this, don't do this. I had no idea what to do. They said, go to an endocrinologist. And I was like, okay. So I look up this endocrinologist, which had 1 star. And they're like, well, you could go to him, but they're really probably they're not going to do anything for you because your thyroid's not bad enough. They're probably not going to do anything. And I was like, well, this is amazing. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to figure this out. So I decided to find a functional doctor and I'm going to go to this functional doctor. And, you know, there like 3 reasons, right? 3 reasons why you would have a thyroid issue, which is your gut, your toxins, and mold. And so we go through it and they're like, okay, we're gonna fix your gut. We're gonna do that. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Right. So I take all these supplements, all these medicines for 3 months, and my antibodies skyrocket after the gut protocol.
Can we, let's just first applaud that you are such a go-getter. Like, you're just like, I'm going to research. Not many people have the energy to do that. So let's just applaud that. And then secondly, you were told you had a gut issue. And I remember getting on the call and I was like, oh, well, what test did you do? And you're like, what test am I supposed to do? What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, wait, they said you had a gut issue, but what was the gut issue?
Yeah, yes, the test that they ran. So they did say I had candida. So that was something they did say I had. So we did the candida protocol.
Right.
That's kind of what it was. We started with, and it did. Yes, my gut got, like, in general, my gut got better, right? Because it should, I hope, right? But my thyroid didn't get better. I still, nothing changed, right? Nothing changed. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hire somebody to do an exercise program. I'm gonna hire a nutritionist. I even hired a nutritionist. I don't know if I told you that. I did. I hired a
Oh,
nutritionist.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I hired a nutritionist and I put in all my stuff, what I ate, how I ate, did all this stuff. And she goes, Selena, there's something wrong. Like there's something wrong with you. Like I can't, there's nothing I can fix. You have to go somewhere. So that's what really pushed me, right, to go to this functional doctor. So, anyways, nothing's working. And I'm like, going through that. It's been a year at this functional doctor and I've done a gut protocol. I did do a toxin protocol, but they're not finding what the problem is. They don't know what it is. They're like, we don't know. We're just going to try this. They put me on thyroid medicine and let's just see what happens. And nothing is changing. And I'm getting frustrated and I don't know what to do. And I see all these things on Facebook and I run across you, of course. And I was like, I go, okay, so she's a thyroid specialist. She's okay. She knows. Okay. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see what I'm going to see. Right. And that's where we had that call. And I explain all this stuff to you. And you're like, I will fight for you. I will do whatever it takes. I will dig. I will dig. I will dig. And I was like, okay, I love her. We're doing this. So to me, I was like, yes, we're going to dig into this. We're going to figure this out. And, so that's, I think, where my journey started. Right. And I was like so excited to just dig and figure. I knew that you would find this. You'd find this stuff for me and we would figure this out through all this, digging,
Yeah.
which we did. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of women have a very similar journey, right? So for people listening, all their energy, like how exhausting, all our energy is reading and listening and Instagram reels. And what if you just took all that energy to executing on a plan that's custom for you that's going to work, right? Like 70% of your day, you're just like, okay, I'm just going to like do what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think what is really interesting about your journey is a lot of the stuff that we did feels like you had already done, but it wasn't very specific and personalized when you first did it. So, like,
correct.
you had gut issues, and we also uncovered gut issues, but it was like, okay, this is the order that we do it in. These are the very specific things that we're going to address. You had done a mold protocol. And you remember when I
Right.
asked you, I go, well, where were you getting exposed?
Right.
And you're like, I don't know. I just did a
Yeah.
protocol. I did what I was told. Like, because you're such a good researcher and you're so good
Right.
at execution. You, of the many people I work with, I'm like, Selena, you got to do this. And you're like, I did it yesterday.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yes. I will do whatever. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah, you're so good at execution. So even though you had addressed root causes, you had addressed it like 80%, but it wasn't done in a very thorough way, is what I felt. I don't know how you felt about that.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. And I think that is the problem when you go to a big doctor's office, regardless if it's a functional office or not. They're taught to do your typical, whatever they do for everybody, right? You have a mold issue, you do this. You have a gut issue, you do this. But nobody's really looking at my lab specifically and saying, Selena, this is the issues. And I think that's definitely what you helped with, was understanding for me personally what I needed to do and change. And that significantly helped.
Can you give us just like a little glimpse into this mold journey that we went on together? Because I know your husband was like, who is this person and why is she saying we have mold in the house?
Yes. So this came up actually from the other functional doctor where they said, like, is there a possibility you have mold in the house? I was like, no, I don't have mold in my house. So I literally, I did ask my husband though. I was like, so do you think we possibly would have mold? He's like, no, we don't have mold in the house. I was like, okay, no, we do not have mold in the house. So let that go. Right. And then of course, a year later I meet Emily and it's like, are you sure you don't have mold in the house? I'm like, pretty sure I don't have mold in the house. She's like, Mom, let's just test. Let's just test anyway. I'm like, okay, sure. Let's test. Right? Off the charts. Oh my gosh. I about died. I was like, are you kidding me? So I literally look at my husband. I go, we have mold in the house. And he's like, there's no way. And I was like, he's like, I don't know who this doctor is. I think your doctor's crazy. And I go, do you want to look at my test results where my blood actually shows that there's mold in my blood? Do you want to see this? Like, so
The
he did not
body doesn't lie.
right. I was like, no, there's something wrong. And I think part of it too is the stress of like, how much is this going to cost? Right. Like cost is always a huge factor,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
So freaking out. So I go and I call these people. And luckily for me, I did have somebody who went on this journey as well at my gym. So she had the same issues, thyroid issues, like adrenal, all the same stuff. And luckily she had worked with somebody in the past. So luckily I was able to call them in and it was like Somebody who came in, inspector, and went through the whole house. And sure enough, here we go. Yep, mold in the basement. So it's funny, something we never would have caught because we were pretty good. We've had floods in the basement before where we've taken out the walls, ripped up carpet, did all that stuff. The mold was in the basement bathroom toilet under tile.
Who installed that toilet?
Yeah, I know. My husband installed the toilet. He was pretty upset about it. It's funny, we talked about it later because he's like, "I feel horrible." And I go, "Babe, I would have had you install the toilet anyway. Like, it's not something we would have figured we'd have known, you know?" And the tile, it doesn't buckle under tile, right? So that's something you don't see. So again, one of those things like what you don't see doesn't mean it's not there. We even talked about this. You're like, make sure they look behind the walls. But now I get it because again, it's one of those things you would have never known. And we had no signs of it. And so this mold had been growing under this toilet probably for 15 years since we built this basement. It had filtered through the vents and went all through the house. And so that's where we had, and it wasn't a lot, and the spores were not a ton in the first and second levels, but like that's where it stemmed from was the basement. And that was a concern. So, yep, we did. We had tons of mold in there. So we had to remediate like the basement, rip out the entire bathroom. We had to pull all the carpet up. And while we were doing that, anywhere we had a leak, I had them clean, right? So we had some leaks in the kitchen at one point in time. So I had them open up that and clean it out. And because you never know, so my biggest advice to anybody is if you ever have a leak anywhere, you need to rip the wall out and let it air out and clean it. It was definitely a process and we finally got it all fixed up. But yeah, that was quite interesting, the mold thing. So who would have thought, right? Fix the gut, fix the toxins. Who I would have never guessed mold. And
Yeah.
sure stuff, it was definitely mold.
Yeah. And I think for you, you are very high functioning. You're a go-getter. You work hard. You're not someone who's like, I can't function. I have so much fatigue and brain fog. There was fatigue and brain fog, but you
No.
are such a high functioning, powerful woman that you're not debilitated to the point where like, oh my God, something's so wrong. I got to check the house. So I really love to make the process when I work with clients, they're held through the process, right? Because sometimes
Right.
we'll see our doctors are like, see you in 3 months. And I'm like, but what if I need something before then?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so can you just describe what it looks like to work with someone where it's like, hey, I can message you anytime and be like, hey, glutathione is making me not feel good. And then I'm going to be like, okay, I'm not, Selena, don't take it. Like that versus like maybe more go to the doctor's office.
I mean, with my functional doctor, it was, yeah, you go once, you get all your labs, and they're like, okay, well, see you in 3 months. That's it. Like, here's your protocol, here's your gut stuff. If there's issues, there's no hand holding, there's no messaging, there's no calling. It's like your typical doctor's office. Like, yes, they're functional, so they're thinking outside the box versus your Western medicine person, but there's definitely no hand holding and there's no additional help, right? And again, to the personalization, there is no personalization. I love the fact that, yeah, I mean, I still to this day don't want to give you up because I love that I can chat with you at any time, right? Like anytime I needed you, if I had questions about something, even non-related to maybe what you're giving me, maybe it was a question related to something else. Like you were always there to assist and help me. Love the fact that I could just chat at any point in time. I definitely prefer the personalization in that regard, and it scares me to even not have you because I know that it's gonna be the same thing, I'm back to, like, trusting this person that I don't know if they really care about me. I'm one of their 100 patients, right? I'm one of a few patients with you, and I can chat you and talk to you at any point in time, and they are specialty, but they don't have the time for me, and that's that difference in personalization where you have somebody who is looking at your labs every day, looking at you as a person every day, knowing what you do in and out. Nobody asks me like how many times do I work out? They don't ask what kind of food I eat. They don't care. They're looking at the lab saying fix it. Having that personalization is huge and very important, especially going through like a thyroid issue like this when you're trying to figure out autoimmune disease because it's curable. It is, right? It's curable. There are reasons that you have it. And anybody that I talk to that has a thyroid issue, I'm like, there's a reason you have it. This is not forever. You can fix it. Go see somebody that can fix this for you. You need to dig and figure it out. And having that person like you to help with that is huge. And I would absolutely recommend anybody I know that has it, I would recommend to you 100%.
Yeah. And oftentimes people are chasing thyroid, but it's not the thyroid. It's something else secondarily
100%.
affecting it. Yeah.
Exactly.
You being so high functioning and powerhouse, for me, was actually hard to tap into. I'm like, how is she actually doing? I'd be like, Selena, how you doing? She's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I'm like, you're literally living in a house going through mold remediation. You're like, I'm fine.
I did feel fine. No, just kidding. No, in my mind, I was fine.
And just knowing your cortisol curve, right? You having trained for so long and lifted heavy and calculated calories and really followed things to a T, what I find in women who are just like, they have the capacity, they're like, yeah, your plate's full, put it on mine. I can take it. Like, and I'm going to like hold the space, is that oftentimes they have adrenal burnout or like cortisol issues. And so a lot of our work together was like, how can we regulate the cortisol, take
Right.
some of the stress off? I remember you're like, I went to yoga and I hated it.
Yeah, I do hate yoga. Because it's so boring. It's boring. I cannot sit in one spot for that long.
What does Selena need? Like, it's going to be so much, like, I have clients, they can't get off the couch. I'm like, girl, let's get lifting. But
Yeah.
it was actually the opposite. It was like, okay, let's bring the nervous system down after 6 months. If you look back at the things that you're originally struggling with, which was like getting a handle on my Hashimoto's, fatigue was part of the picture, a little bit of brain fog. I look back and I'm like, wow, she made leaps and bounds. But I'm just wondering from your perspective.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And one thing I will say you did great on is knowing that I'm a powerhouse and that I like to do stuff. It wasn't like you didn't say sit on the sofa and do nothing, right? Like you worked with what you knew I was going to need, right? So it was like, okay, well, instead of working out 5 days a week, let's work out 2 days a week and do full body, right? So it made me feel better knowing that I could still do what I love doing without detrimenting who I am as a person. I think a big piece of that was the little things, getting up and taking a walk first thing in the morning. We talked about that as these are some of the things that I want you to do to help your cortisol. Get up, eat your protein, and go for a walk. And that's exactly what I did. Within 30 minutes, I was up. I made a protein shake and I was walking my dog for 30 minutes, drinking my shake. I feel like that really did make a big difference, but it wasn't. And then I still could do my workouts, right? I could still do that. So it was helpful. And then even like at night, right? The red light glasses, like huge help too. Love that as well. Coming from before when I felt so terrible and was doing all that stuff to now, it's such a big difference. Like my habits, everything that I do is different. The way I think of my body and what I should be doing to take care of it is different. It's not so I have to do this, this, and this, and this. It's do the things that you should do that's good for your body instead of being that person that was like going through the motions of every day and being tired. So I'd focused on myself as a person and getting up and walking and wearing my red light glasses at night and eating my 30 grams of protein a day. I feel tremendously better. I do find that I wake up and I have more energy now. My cortisol levels are definitely getting better. I'm sleeping now. So I'm sleeping at night, which is great. I don't feel like I need a nap at 2 o'clock anymore, which is great. So I do feel tremendously better, 100%. I think just ironing out and after that mold protocol, since it's just happened, just like finding my new rhythm, and doing the
Yeah.
right things, I think is going to make a world of difference. But I feel like so much better and feel
Yeah.
like I'm on the road to recovery, right? So I do feel like there's something inside that I've done the right things. I know what to do now and I know how to manage myself, which is great.
Can we talk about peptides?
Yes.
I don't direct every client to peptides. I think it's for the right person who's already doing the things to maintain their muscle. Someone's not hitting their protein. Are we going to talk about something that's going to help them lose weight, which would potentially would make them lose more muscle? But I think for you, this is a really powerful tool that can move the needle and walk you to your goals. We had talked about, hey, should you try some GLP-1 tirzepatide in a microdosed fashion, starting low, titrating up to help decrease inflammation and help move the needle on weight loss. I know you were very resistant at first because
I
you
was.
that friend at the gym who would like her face is all sunken and she's a cake butt. I don't
Yeah.
want like that. And I was like, Selena, come on. You get the protein, you lift the weights. That's not going to happen.
Yes, I was very worried because all you hear again, like this is kind of where it comes down to having somebody on your side. Everything in the media, right? All this stuff that you read and you see and you hear, it's like these people on Ozempic or these people, and they call them the same things, right? I don't even know what the difference between, I didn't know what the difference was between an Ozempic and a GLP-1 and what those things are. And like learning about what those are and truly how they're meant. But I see these people losing all this weight and looking terrible. And I'm just like, I can't do that. I don't want to not eat anymore. I don't want to like look like that. And so I was scared and I'm actually very resistant about putting stuff in my body that I don't know about. And I had to get over that a lot with all these supplements that I take because I had my box of a million pills. But I'm realizing that again, back to that journey, it wasn't the eating and the exercise. It was like taking care of me internally, right? What's happening on the inside. And the GLP-1 I know is something that is there to help me if I do it the right way. And so understanding that and learning from you on what that means for me has made a big difference. It's what you take, how you take it, and the microdosing that makes a difference. And then understanding that you do need to still do your protein and your workouts, and that it all of that plays a key part in it. And I would now recommend a GLP-1 to people,
Ooh.
and I do, yes, and I do explain that though, how I recommend it and why, right? So it's not like, oh, go take it. It's well, you need to make sure you work out, you hit your protein, you're eating healthy, because that's something you taught me too, that there is a right and a wrong way to do things. And what we see in the media and what we see on the internet, not always the way, right? So having a professional on your side that understands that and can teach you I think is crucial and very important.
When we first met, you were skeptical. For women who are listening that are skeptical, who worked with
Yeah.
multiple providers, what would you tell them about this journey this year, your experience?
I think for me, don't give up. Don't stop digging for you and fighting for you, because it's so easy to just give up. And there's so many times that I wanted to just be like, oh, well, screw it. I'm just gonna eat whatever I want, do whatever I want. I'm fat, I'm fat. Oh, well, you know. And if I'm tired, I'm tired. I'm old. But that's the thing out there now is they're getting old. So you're going to feel that way. No, that is not the way that you should feel. And you got to fight for yourself, whatever it takes. And for me, you need to find the right doctor. And when I spoke with Emily originally, it was like, hey, she's like, I went through 10 doctors too. And I was like, oh my God, that made me feel so much better to know that it wasn't just me that have tried, like a nutritionist, a functional doctor, a wellness, somebody who lift weights and does that. Like I tried all these things and I just kept fighting because it wasn't working. And I could have easily given up and just suffered through it. And I was like, no, I'm going to find somebody who's going to help me. I think my biggest piece of advice is don't give up and just keep fighting for yourself and find the person that makes sense for you. And it's okay to find somebody. Because again, I know, and I will be honest about this, and people get worried about you see somebody on Facebook, right? And it's like a sponsored ad, and you're like, oh, do I just keep scrolling? No, don't. Because if you see somebody on there that resonates with you, which it was for Emily, like she resonated with me, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna give her a shot. And did. And I was of course skeptical and nervous, but like don't be, because if you try somebody and you have that relationship and that bond, you'll know instantly whether you feel it or not, and then go for it. Don't give up. Just do it, because it will be worth it in the end. And it's worth the money and it's worth the time and it's worth all that stuff to get better.
I think like attracts like. So I lift weights, I eat
Yeah.
protein, I get my steps. If you find someone like that, there's providers out there. I'm like, you haven't worked out ever, have you? And it's
Yes,
like, you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
live what you're talking about. I totally 100% agree with you on that. It makes a huge difference. That's funny you say that, because there are some like trainers, personal trainers out there. And I was like, really? If I want to look like you, I'm not gonna be a trainer, right? And it's funny because I had a guy that told me that he went through college for that, and the same thing happened to him. And somebody told him honestly, he's like, you need to look the way you're presented. And he was like, and it I think upset him originally, but then he did what he did, and now he's a very successful like person. So you do have to, yes, find somebody that that you can believe in too, if they're preaching what they're saying as well.
Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to share with the audience?
I think the ending piece of it, just fighting for what you believe in, and that personal touch is important. I do think going with somebody that you feel comfortable with and getting that personalized attention is super key and important. So I would highly suggest doing that.
Selena, thank you so much.
Of
You've been,
course.
I feel like we've lived like a lifetime together.
We have. I am very sad. I would absolutely recommend you to anybody, Emily. I promise. If anything pops up, I will definitely send them your way because it's been great, and I hope that we definitely can stay in contact too. So
Yeah. And I feel so honored for you to trust me with your health because it's like
oh yeah, it's
big
huge.
deal. I
Yeah.
will literally go on walks and I'll be like, okay, Selena had that reaction to L-glutamine, which maybe she has like a molybdenum deficiency because that's the
Right.
like I'm literally
Well,
like,
investments, yeah.
yeah.
You
So
invest in people. That's the point. Yeah. When you invest in somebody, it's like important to you. And that's what makes you a good provider, by the way, because you care so much and you want to help those people. That's huge.
yeah. All right, ladies, I hope you loved that episode where Selena was sharing her journey and her transformation. And if you need my help, I'm going to drop a link into the show notes. It is a link to my Thyroid Strong Functional Medicine program. We do 6 months together. It is a mix of lifestyle. How are you working out? How are you eating? How are you moving your body? What's your sleep look like? How's your nervous system regulation? Combined with a root cause functional medicine approach of gut, hormones, environmental load. What is putting load on the body and driving up thyroid antibodies? Address that, and you can feel better, feel like yourself again, and even possibly go into remission. So if you're needing help, there's a link in the show notes. Go ahead and apply. We will jump on a free discovery call to see how can I help you? What are you struggling with? Am I a good fit? And if we are a good fit, we can talk about what that looks like to work together. All right, ladies, if you love this podcast episode, rate, review on your favorite podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, and I'll see you next week.